I woke up gasping, as though I'd been yanked from the bottom of a black ocean. My throat was raw, mouth dry, and my heart immediately thundered in my chest as a bright, sterile light drilled into my eyes. Fluorescent, cold, unforgiving. Where the hell was I? The last thing I remember, clear as a photograph, was locking up the bar downtown. The scent of beer still hung in my nose. I'd wiped the counters, counted the drawer, said goodnight to the regular passed out in his stool. Then, nothing. A void. And now this. Panic surged through me. I tried to sit up, but a sharp resistance held me down. My arms, both of them, strapped tight to the sides of the bed, leather restraints. My legs, too, immobilized. I let out a scream, raw and full of every ounce of terror clawing its way up my throat. Help! Somebody! Help! The sound bounced off the smooth walls around me. The room was clinical, sterile, too clean. No windows. Cold steel panels lined the walls like something out of a morgue. The floor was beige concrete, polished to an unnatural smoothness, and the only thing I could hear, besides my own frantic breathing, was the slow, mechanical beep of medical equipment behind me. I thrashed against the restraints. My wrists burned. They were already raw, like I'd been doing this for hours, maybe longer. My voice cracked as I shouted again, and that's when the pain hit me. A bolt of agony tore through my left side. I let out a choked scream, my body arching against the bed. It felt like fire threading through my ribs. Something was wrong. Something was done to me. I looked down, barely able to tilt my chin enough, and saw the paper-thin hospital gown clinging to me with sweat. A white wristband clung to my arm, marked not with a name, but a barcode. Just a barcode, like I was inventory. Voices, outside the room, muffled at first, but then one rose above the others, firm, sharp, demanding. Footsteps followed, heavy, approaching. The door opened. A figure stepped inside, tall, clad head to toe in a black hazmat suit. No face, just a dark, reflective visor. In their gloved hand, a syringe. Long, needle gleaming under the fluorescent lights like a sliver of death. "What the fuck is going on?" I screamed. "Where am I? Who are you?" They didn't answer. They didn't stop. "Listen to me. I didn't. Please. You can't just..." The needle jabbed into my neck. Ice flooded through my veins, sharp and immediate. The lights above me blurred. The last thing I saw was my own breath fogging the air as the world drained to black. Consciousness drifted in and out. Time lost meaning. Moments stretched into eternities, then collapsed into nothingness. I wasn't sure if I was awake or dreaming, alive or dying. Voices whispered through the haze, some loud, some soft, none familiar. Were they real? Were they in my head? "This one's fading. We need to move fast. The liver's clean, good quality. Donor protocols are already underway." Donor. I wanted to scream, but my body wouldn't move. My tongue was too heavy. My limbs weren't mine. I floated. And then dreams, or memories. I was a kid again, in the backseat of my dad's car on some endless highway. The sun was golden and hot through the windows. I was playing my Game Boy, some pixelated little guy jumping across cliffs and enemies. The hum of tires against asphalt was hypnotic, safe, warm. Another shift. A darker memory. I stood in a hospital room, smaller and scared. My mother lay in a bed, thinner than I remembered, her hair barely clinging to her scalp. Machines surrounded her, blinking, beeping, like they were trying to measure the last shreds of her life. That beeping, the same rhythm I heard now, in this cold, foreign place, over and over and over. Her eyes were closed, mine filled with tears I didn't remember shedding. And then blackness took me again. When I came to again, it was different. The first thing I noticed was silence. No shouting, no metal clanging or footfalls behind doors. Just the steady hum of ventilation and the faint rhythmic chirp of a heart monitor. I opened my eyes to a ceiling I didn't recognize, but this time it wasn't steel. It was elegant, crown molding, inlaid panels, soft ambient lighting. I was in a hospital bed, but not like before. This one looked like it belonged in a palace, not a clinic. The frame was carved from some deep reddish wood, polished to a gleam, with accents of gold at the joints. The sheets were thick and smelled of lavender, the pillow softer than anything I'd felt before. I tried to move. My body was like wet cement. Every joint ached. My limbs trembled just from the effort of turning my head. Everything around me radiated wealth. The equipment at my bedside wasn't the clunky, utilitarian junk I'd seen before. It gleamed with glass and brushed aluminum, sleek lines and soft beeping. Monitors flickered silently with perfect clarity, like they'd been installed yesterday. I was still in a hospital, yes, but now it was the kind they reserve for someone important or someone rich. But I felt anything but important. I felt hollowed out. My strength was gone. My arms were limp. My breath came in shallow gasps. I wasn't restrained anymore. But I didn't think I could leave if I tried. I managed to turn my head slowly to the side, wincing at the pull of stiff muscles. There was movement in the corner of the room. A woman in black scrubs stood beside me, her back turned. She looked young, mid to late 20s maybe, with a neat ponytail of brown hair. She was focused on something near my arm. I blinked, trying to clear my vision, and realized she was drawing blood from an IV port in my vein. My mouth felt full of sandpaper, but I forced my voice to life. Hey! It came out like a breath, almost too faint to hear, but she heard it. She turned sharply, eyes wide in alarm. I could see the moment of panic flash across her face, like she hadn't expected me to be awake. I tried again. What happened to me? She hesitated, her hands frozen in place. Her lips parted, then closed again. I can't... you shouldn't be awake, she stammered, taking a small step back from the bed. That was not the reassurance I needed. Please, I croaked. Just tell me. Why am I here? She opened her mouth again, but nothing came out at first. Her eyes darted to the door. She was scared. Of what? Or who? I wasn't sure. I shifted slightly, trying to sit up more, but a strange sensation, or rather, the lack of one, caught me off guard. My brow furrowed. Something felt wrong. I looked down, or tried to, but where my legs should have been, there was nothing. No shape beneath the blanket, no pressure, no presence, just empty space. My breath hitched. I yanked at the sheet with what little strength I had left, my heart exploding with dread. Gone. My legs were gone. A howl of horror tore from my throat. My vision swam, chest heaving with the force of panic and betrayal and helpless animal fear. What did you do to me? I screamed. Where are my legs? The nurse recoiled, fumbled for something in her scrubs, her hands trembling. I'm sorry, she whispered. The needle was in her hand now. She jammed it into the fourth line. Cold flooded into my veins again, fast, numbing, unstoppable. No, don't you fucking dare. She looked at me, tears gathering in her eyes. I'm sorry. And the world collapsed again into black. Dreams came then. I was walking my dog through the park. The air was crisp, rich with the scent of pine trees. Fallen leaves crunched underfoot. My dog tugged gently at the leash, tail wagging, tongue lolling, content as could be. I laughed, the sound of it warm and familiar. Then I was sitting with my friends at a noisy table, the kind of joy that only came from shared success pulsing through all of us. They had graduated. I was next. Our arms wrapped around each other's shoulders in blurry phone photos. We were drunk on cheap champagne and hope. Then, I was in my childhood home, sitting close to the fire as a winter storm howled outside. The flames crackled gently, casting dancing shadows across the wooden walls. I held a warm mug of hot chocolate, the steam fogging my glasses, the taste rich and sweet and safe. And then, cold. Not the cozy cold of winter, but something emptier, sharper. It wrapped around me, soaked into me. I began to stir, and the dreams bled away. I was moving. The sensation of being wheeled down a long hallway reached me through the haze. The ceiling lights slipped past overhead in slow, sterile pulses. I fought to keep my eyes open. Figures flanked the bed, people in black scrubs. I could barely see their faces, but I felt their hands on the metal rails. Cold. Steady. Ahead of me, another bed was being pushed by a different group, just far enough that I couldn't make out who was on it. My head lolled to the side, vision swimming, and then darkness took me again. When I awoke, I was still, but the silence was different this time. The air was cold and humming. An operating room. I knew it before I even opened my eyes. The beeping of vital monitors surrounded me, echoing off walls too clean, too controlled. I forced my eyes open. Across the room, another patient lay motionless, an old man in a medical gown. His hair was a thick, pristine white. His features seemed sculpted by time and luxury, a man who had lived well and long, but now he was still, his chest rising and falling in slow, shallow breaths. People were moving around him, all dressed in black scrubs. One of them stood out, a surgeon. He was preparing tools, setting up for something, a procedure. I stared, my pulse climbed, an instinct took over. I tried to move, to scramble away, forgetting myself, forgetting the truth. My legs weren't there. I toppled sideways off the bed, hitting the floor with a muffled thud and a choked cry. The cold tile bit into my skin as I clawed at the ground, trying to drag myself anywhere but here. "Get him back on the bed, sedate him," the surgeon barked. I opened my mouth to scream, to beg, to fight, but all that came out was a hoarse gasp. Several pairs of hands grabbed at me, lifted me. The fourth line was still in. The needle slid in again. No, please. But the world was already fading. Dreams again. We were driving through winding country roads, golden fields stretching far in every direction. The car was filled with music and the crinkle of candy wrappers. I was in my 20s, fresh-faced and alive, sun pouring through the windshield as we searched for license plates from different states. We cheered every time we crossed a state line, arms flailing out the windows, wild and free. My best friend sat in the passenger seat, his bare feet on the dash, laughing at something dumb I'd said. For a moment, I believed it was real. For a moment, I was safe. Then came the searing pain, white hot, burrowing deep into my chest. I gasped, except I couldn't. My eyes cracked open, bleary and unfocused. Panic bloomed. A tube was jammed down my throat. I gagged around it, body jerking with weak spasms. My arms were heavy. My legs, I didn't try. The light above me was sterile, cold, blinding. Voices filtered through the fog. Distant at first, then closer, sharper. "Are they awake?" a man asked. The voice was rough, sandpaper over gravel, tinged with command. "Yes, sir," someone replied. "Heart rate's up. Brain activity spiked 5 minutes ago. They're waking up." "Good. Keep the sedation light. We need them to be responsive." My breath rasped through the tube. I tried to speak, to move, but all I could do was blink. My gaze darted, sluggish and disoriented. I saw movement. People in black scrubs, monitors, machines. The older man stepped into view. His face was creased, unreadable. He looked at me like I was an engine that had just sputtered to life. "You can hear me?" he asked, bending slightly, hands resting on the edge of the bed. I blinked slowly. Once, twice. "Good," he said. "You're going to feel a little more pain. That means it's working." My pulse thundered in my ears. Pain. Working. I didn't understand. I didn't want to. Then he smiled. A strange, hollow thing. "Thank you," he said, with a surprising gentleness, "for everything you've done for me." He leaned in closer. "I know you didn't come here by choice. None of them do. But your blood, O negative, so rare, so perfect, made you essential, indispensable." I stared, unblinking, as he spoke. "Through the years, you've given me more than I ever imagined possible. Both of your kidneys, your liver, pancreas, intestines, and most recently, both lungs." Each word crashed over me like a wave of ice. "You've kept me alive," he said. "Even when nature tried to claim me. Machines keep you going now, of course. That's the only reason you're still here." He straightened, sighing like a man recounting a fond memory. "We removed your legs early on. Couldn't have you running off in a moment of clarity. You understand?" I didn't. I couldn't. But he nodded, satisfied. "You've served your purpose beautifully. And I promise, We're almost finished. The pain in my chest flared again, and I knew it wasn't over. He looked down at me, his tone now almost tender. "It's been 6 years," he said. 6 years since we brought you here. You've given me your strength, your vitality, your life. I feel better now than I ever have." He smiled again, and this time there was something final in it. "This will be the last time you wake up. I wanted to say goodbye. I'm going to take your heart next." My body went cold. My mind screamed, thrashed, but my body could not. Paralyzed, voiceless, trapped. "It's like saying goodbye to an old friend," he added. The vitals monitor beside me began to beep more rapidly. I could feel my rage, pure, incandescent, burning through the haze of sedation. Alarms flared. The staff swarmed around me. "They're destabilizing," someone called out. The old man didn't flinch. "Sedate them, now." I stared into his eyes as the needle slipped into my arm again. "Goodbye," he said, and meant it. And then the world slipped away once more.